Welcome to Muscles and Magic the Gathering. I am Bobby Maximus. I am the muscles on this show in this house. These cards, Magic the Gathering, something that's literally been a passion of mine for over 3 decades, 31 years. I started in 1994 playing Unlimited. And we have a really special edition of the show today because I reworked one of my favorite commander decks, and I want to take a few minutes to talk to you about it right now. If you like Lord of the Rings commander decks, if you like Sauron, the Dark Lord, if you like the best that Universes Beyond has to offer, everything that Universes Beyond should be, you are in the right place. Now, bear with me while I give you a bit of a backstory on this deck and a little bit more about me. So my goal is to have 100 fully complete commander decks. What do I mean by fully complete? I don't use graphics on the screen. I don't use proxies. I don't switch cards between decks. If you came over to play, you could grab one of these decks and it is 100% good to go. It exists in real time. It exists in real space. But along the way, on my journey to 100 decks, I am always tinkering with my old decks. Guaranteed on any of the videos I posted on this channel, if you go and look at the deck list that's always included in the show notes, there are some changes from the original video. Why? Because again, Magic the Gathering is a massive part of my life. There's not a day that goes by in this world where I am not tinkering or adjusting one of my decks. So that's the backstory about who I am and what I do. But how does that relate to the Sauron deck? Well, I originally put up a video of my Sauron deck. When I built my original Sauron deck, I converted the Magic the Gathering Precon, the one that was helmed by Sauron, the Lord of Rings. I dumped in a bunch of Nazgûl. I dumped in a fancy Soul Ring. I dumped in some other cards that I loved from the set. And it was more about collectability. It wasn't about playability. And those are two very, very different things. It was a place for me just to showcase some of the cards that I loved. But upon playing with this deck, I decided, A, it wasn't competitive enough and it needed to be upgraded. So this is my upgrade to the upgrade from the original Precon, if that makes sense. Now, the very first change I made, I needed to swap out the commander. Now, why did I need to swap out the commander? Well, if you look at Sauron, Lord of Rings, we're going to revisit that for a minute, okay? And by the way, if you want a link to the older deck, I will put that in the show notes as well. But when we look at Sauron, Lord of Rings, it costs 8 mana. When you cast this spell, amass Orcs 5, mill 5 cards and return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Trample, and whenever a commander an opponent controls dies, the ring tempts you. Honestly, it's not the most powerful commander, and it's got a massive casting cost. If you're trying to play competitive Magic, I am not a fan of commanders with ginormous casting costs. They're way too slow to get out. And if someone counters it the first time out, you're probably going to lose that game because you're not going to get that commander out again. So I decided to go with the better commander, Sauron the Dark Lord. You've got a beautiful Surge foil printing of it right here. So it also addresses the collectability of my deck. But it's got Ward, sacrifice a legendary artifact or legendary creature. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, amass Orcs 1. And whenever an army you control deals combat damage to a player, the ring tempts you. Whenever the ring tempts you, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw 4 cards. It's got a much less casting cost, and I think it's a much more powerful commander. So some of the changes we'll talk about that I made, I included a bunch of legendary artifacts so I can pay the ward cost, a bunch of legendary creatures. And the old deck didn't stick true to the orc theme. This deck is a lot more orc-based. My old deck was trying to represent all the evil factions of Middle-earth. This one is mostly orcs, and of course, we're going to have some Nazgûl because essentially they are Sauron's right-hand people, right-hand warriors, all right? So that is our commander today. Now, in doing this, I also was able to lower the mana value of the deck down from about 242. As it stands now, the total mana value of this deck is now a much more competitive, frankly, a much more horsepowered 193. I always talk about mana value in a deck. If you're going to make a competitive commander deck, that mana value has got to be as low as possible. What's the mana value, you ask? It's all these symbols on the cards added together. So Sauron has got a 6, okay? It's 3, and then it is a blue, a black, and a red. This is a 2, a colorless, and a black. So the total mana value of this is 8, all right? It's all these cards added together. Lands, obviously 0. So I was also able to reduce the mana value of the deck, which is super important because if you're playing competitive Magic, you got to get your deck to go off fast. Even in today's game, if you're playing any type of competitive format like Bracket 4, the late game is turn 7 or 8. You need to have a lower mana value to get your deck going earlier. So with all that said, now let's look at some of the creatures in the deck. We have the Easterling Vanguard. When Easterling Vanguard dies, amass Orcs 1. So it isn't an Orc itself, but it plays into the Orc theme. Dunland Crebain. Flying, when Dunland Crebain enters the battlefield, amass Orcs 2. We have the Brash Investigator. I honestly don't know how to say that first name. I think it's Grishnok. But when Grishnok Brash Investigator enters the battlefield, amass Orcs 2. When you do, until the end of turn, gain control of target non-legendary creature an opponent controls with power less than or equal to the amassed army's power. Untap that creature. It gains haste until the end of turn. We have Gorbag of Minas Morgul. Whenever a goblin or orc you control deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it. When you do, choose 1. Draw a card, sacrifice the treasure token. We have Grima Wormtongue. Your opponents can't gain life. Sacrifice another creature. Target player loses 1 life. If the sacrificed creature was legendary, amass Orcs 2. So I really tried with all the creatures to just have a ton of these amass Orcs feature. And that plays really nice into the commander. We have Ugluk of the White Hand. Whenever another creature you control dies, put a 1/1 counter on Ugluk of the White Hand. If that creature was Goblin or Orc, put 2 1/1 counters on it instead. We have the Orcish Siege Master. Trample. Other Orcs and Goblins you control have Trample. That is massive in this deck. And whenever Orcish Siege Master attacks, it gets +X/+0 until the end of turn, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. The Moria Scavenger, an Orc Rogue, Death Touch, and Haste. If you discard a card, you could draw a card. If the discarded card was a creature card, amass Orcs 1. We have another Grima. Grima, Saruman's Footman, can't be blocked. Whenever Grima deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile an instant or sorcery card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then that player puts the exiled cards that weren't cast this way on the bottom of their library in a random order. Great card. This is one of the ones I honestly struggled whether or not I was going to include it or not. It doesn't really fit the Orcs feature, but it does fit the lore of Middle-earth, so I decided to keep it. If I was going to get rid of it, and this is a bit of a spoiler alert because we haven't got to artifacts yet, but I would honestly put a talisman. I just don't have any of the Lord of the Rings talismans right now. And for the cards to go in this deck, it has to be an official Universes Beyond Lord of the Rings deck. I am very strict on that, all right? We have Saruman the White Hand. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, amass Orcs X, where X is that spell's mana value. Goblins and Orcs you control have Ward 2. So again, with that Orc feature. Now, this does not fit the Orc or Nazgûl theme, if you will, but the Notion Thief is a game changer, and it's one of the best cards ever created in Magic the Gathering, so I absolutely had to include it. This is one of those cards you can shoehorn. I almost can't speak today. I'm so excited about this deck. But this is one of these cards that you can shoehorn into any deck, and it is going to pay dividends for you, I promise. If an opponent would draw a card except the first one they draw in each of the draw steps, instead that player skips that draw and you draw a card. We have Gothmag, Lorgul Lieutenant. When Gothmag enters the battlefield, the Mass Orcs 1 creature tokens you control have Death Touch. We have Golem. Not on theme, but again, Golem had to be represented. Collectability is massively important to me. It has got a low casting cost, which is really, really important to keep the deck moving fast. It can act as a blocker. When it enters the battlefield, the ring tempts me, which is a really great feature here. If you want to take a closer look, we actually will. And then you can sacrifice a creature, return Golem from your graveyard to your hand, activate only as a sorcery. And here's the ring. Your ring bearer is legendary. It can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. Whenever your ring bearer attacks, draw a card, then discard a card. Whenever your ring bearer becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller sacrifices at the end of combat. Whenever your ring bearer deals combat damage to a player, each opponent loses 3 life. So that ring feature in this deck is just incredible. And a closer look, I promised, the ring tempts you. As the ring tempts you, you get an emblem named the Ring. If you don't have one, then your emblem gains its next ability, and you choose a creature you control to become or remain your ring bearer. The ring can't tempt you even if you don't control, or the ring can tempt you even if you don't control a creature. The ring gains its abilities in order from top to bottom. Once it gains an ability, it has that ability for the rest of the game. Each time the ring tempts you, you must choose a creature if you control one, and each player can only have one emblem named the Ring and only one ring bearer at a time. So it does fit into that feature, so it does make the cut. One of the greatest cards ever created in Magic the Gathering, and I think it's got an argument for the best card in the Lord of the Rings set. Some people say it's the One Ring. Some days I think it's this one, the Orcish Bowmasters. Flash, when Orcish Bowmasters enters the battlefield, and whenever an opponent draws a card, except the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, Orcish Bowmasters deals 1 damage to any target, then amass Orcs 1. We have another Sauron, the Lidless Eye. When it enters the battlefield, gain control of target creature an opponent controls till the end of turn. Untap it, it gains haste till the end of turn. You pay some mana, creatures you control get +2/+0 until the end of turn. Each opponent loses 2 life. We have another Orc Soldier. Whenever Shagrat Loot Bearer attacks, attach up to 1 target equipment to it, then amass Orcs X, where X is the number of equipment attached to Shagrat. So that's Shagrat Loot Bearer. We have Sauron the Necromancer. Menace. Whenever Sauron the Necromancer attacks, exile target creature card from your graveyard. Create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 3/3 black Wraith and has Menace. At the beginning of the next end step, exile that token unless Sauron is your ring bearer. Chances are he's going to be the ring bearer. I promised you a lot of Nazgûl, and we have a lot of Nazgûl, right? They are Sauron's right-hand warriors, so we have the 9. We have 9 different versions of the Nazgûl here. They absolutely had to be included in this deck. I actually skipped forward a little bit, so no spoilers. Pretend you did not see that, but you just saw the 9 Nazgûl. The Witch King Sky Surge. Flying, whenever you attack with 1 or more Wraiths, exile the top X cards of your library. We're going to have a lot of Wraiths in this deck along with our Orcs, where X is our total power. You may play those cards this turn, and it's got Undying. We have Ring Wraiths. Whenever Ring Wraiths enter the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gain -3/-3 until the end of turn. If that creature is a legendary, its controller loses 3 life. When the ring tempts you, return Ring Wraiths from the graveyard to your hand. We have the Witch King of Angmar. Flying. Whenever 1 or more of your creatures deal combat damage to you, whenever 1 or more creatures deal combat damage to you, each opponent sacrifices a creature that dealt combat damage to you this turn. The ring tempts you, discard a card. Witch King gains indestructible to the end of the turn. And then we have the Lord of the Nazgûl, which, by the way, would be my Nazgûl commander. I'm actually working on, I've got some extra Nazgûls right here. I am actually working on a Nazgûl deck, and this will be the commander. Not this one. I got to get another copy of Lord of the Nazgûl, obviously. But flying. Wraiths you control protection from ring bears. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 3/3 black Wraith creature token with menace. Then if you control 9 or more Wraiths you control have base power. It up is 9/9 till the end of turn. So incredible card. I wanted to throw the Wraiths in here. This deck might be more competitive. It might be a little better if I had some Orcs. 2 problems with that. 1, it doesn't represent the, what's the word I'm looking for? The storytelling of Lord of the Rings. That's really, really important to me, the collectability of these decks and the storytelling. That is massive in my deck building style, all right? But also, there's not enough good Orcs yet. With this new Hobbit set coming out, hopefully we get a bunch of awesome Orcs that I can include in this. I may make that decision. But if I could have like 10 more really good Orcs, and they don't necessarily need to be like Orcs Bowmasters level Orcs, but just better Orcs, then I might make that change because it would make the deck that much more competitive. A lot of people, when they make decks, it can be problematic because they try to include too many things and too many themes. The more streamlined you can be, the better it's going to be. Let's move on to artifacts, and we got a bunch of legendary artifacts so we can take advantage of this ward ability here. And they're also really, really good and really, really cool, by the way. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. You pay 2, sacrifice Stone Eric, exile target player's graveyard, draw a card. Of course, we have the One Ring, all right? This was a struggle for me to put in this deck, I'm not going to lie. Not because it's not good, not because it's not great, and it has to be here. But I wanted to use it for some other decks, but it does have a great home here. So there we go. We have the Ensnaring Bridge, a.k.a. the Bridge of Khazad-dûm. Creatures with power greater than the number of cards in your hand can't attack. We have Shadow Spear. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has trample and lifelink. Permanents your opponent's control lose hexproof and indestructible until the end of turn. And just a couple of things going backwards. I didn't read the One Ring for you. You know what it does. It's one of the most famous cards in Magic. Then as for this Bridge of Khazad-dûm, it's a $13 card. This is in here for collectability. I don't necessarily like how this card plays, but again, I wanted to feature a lot of my best Lord of the Rings cards. A card I do love, though, is the Morgul Knight, the Shadow Spear. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, has trample and lifelink. Permanents your opponent's control lose hexproof and indestructible. I just wanted to cover that off again because it is such an incredible card. We have the Shards of Narsil. Non-creature spells cast cost 1 more to cast. We have the Mithril Coat. Flash, indestructible. When Mithril Coat enters the battlefield, attached to a target legendary creature you control. Equipped creature has indestructible. Just great, great, great commander protection. Nazgûl Battle Mace. Equipped creature has Menace, Death Touch, Annihilator 1, and whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, put that card into the battlefield under your control. Unless that player plays 3 life. Another legendary artifact, the Palantir of Orthanc. Great card. At the beginning of your end step, put an influence counter on it and scry 2. Then target opponent may have you draw a card. If that player doesn't, you mill X cards, where X is a number of influence counters on Palantir of Orthanc, and that player loses life equal to the total mana value of those cards. We have the Arcane Signet. We have the Relic of Sauron. We have the greatest mana ramp card of all time, and look at that version of it. Just stunning, all right? That goes for well over $300. Beautiful. And then we have Grond the Gatebreaker. Trample, as long as it's your turn, you control an army, and we are going to control an army in the deck. You went through all the creatures with me. You see all the amassed orcs. Then it is an artifact creature, and it's got crew 3. So just incredible, incredible cards here. I am missing the talismans. I am missing a Lightning Greaves. I honestly don't know, as I make this video, if there was a Swiftfoot Boots made in the Lord of the Rings Commander set. I'm sure there was. I can't imagine they didn't. But that's another change I could make to the deck if I really wanted to. And I might do that. When I build my Nazgûl deck, maybe I take the Nazgûl out of here and I can put in 3 talismans. I can put in a Lightning Greaves. I can put in a Swiftfoot Boots to get a couple more orcs. We have a stellar party. Enchantments, the Book of Mazarbul. It is all about amassing orcs. So step 1, amass orcs 1. Step 2, amass orcs 2. And then step 3, creatures you control get +1/+0 and menace till the end of turn. Call of the Ring. At the beginning of your upkeep, the ring tempts you. I told you a lot of ring tempts you mechanics. Spiteful Banditry. When it enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to each creature, and whenever one or more creatures your opponents control die, you create a treasure token. So we're going to create a bunch of treasure tokens. Fires the Mount Doom. When Fires the Mount Doom enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to each. It deals 2 damage to target creature an opponent controls, not each. Destroy all equipment attached to that creature. Pay some mana, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. When you play a card this turn, Fires the Mount Doom deals 2 damage to each player. There and back again. Had to be included. Smog is a legendary creature in the Lord of the Rings lore, if you will. It is a saga, and up to 1 target creature can't block for as long as you control there and back again. The ring tempts you, again, plays into that theme. Search your library for a mountain card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Create Smog, a legendary 6/6 dragon. This is step 3 with flying, and when it dies, you create 14 treasure tokens. And then we have In the Darkness that binds them. Or In the Darkness bind them. For step 1, 2, and 3, you create a 3/3 black Wraith creature token with menace. I actually think I have more Wraith features in this deck than I thought. So actually, that works out pretty good. It's a nice split. And I keep going back and forth about this. So this is just me talking out loud. For each opponent, gain control of up to 1 target creature that player controls until end of turn. And tap those creatures. They gain haste until the end of turn. And the ring tempts you. Then we have a bunch of instants and sorceries, all right? And then we'll get to the lands. But we have Orcish Medicine, all right? It helps us amass Orcs 1 and target creature gains your choice of lifelink or indestructible until the end of turn. So a great way to protect your commander or protect some other cards that you like. Ring Sight. Again, the ring tempts you, and you can search your library for a card that shows a color with it. Shares a color with a legendary creature you control. Then reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. More tutors, more tutors, more tutors. We have the Foray of Orcs, amass Orcs 2. And when you do, the Foray of Orcs deals X damage to target creature an opponent controls, where X is the amassed army's power. This is going to be massive in this deck, I promise you. Nasty End. There's an additional cost to cast a spell. Sack a creature, draw 2 cards. If the sacrificed creature was legendary, draw 3 cards instead. We have a Lash of the Balrog. There's an additional cost to cast this spell. Sacrifice a creature or pay 4. Destroy target creature. Deceive the Messenger. Target creature gets -3, -0 until the end of turn. Amass Orcs 1. We have Reanimate, one of my favorite cards of all time. It is criminally underutilized. It is a great way to get stuff from any graveyard and cheat out big creatures early. Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose life equal to its mana value. We have the Summons of Saruman. Mass Orcs X. Mill X cards. You may cast an instant or sorcery spell from mana value X or less from among them without paying its mana cost. We have Consider. Allows us to draw a card and surveil. We have Smite the Deathless. Deals 3 damage to target creature. That creature loses indestructible until the end of turn. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. So it's like a supercharged lightning bolt. Love this card. Arcane Denial. Counter target spell. We need some counter spells in here. We have the Flame of Anor, an awesome card if you have a wizard. Choose 1 if you control a wizard. As you cast the spell, you may choose 2 instead. Target player draws 2 cards. That would be me, obviously. Destroy target artifact. Artifact removal is everything. You don't have enough removal in your deck. And Flame of Anor deals 5 damage to target creature. The Fell Beast Shriek. Each opponent chooses a creature they control. Tap and goad the chosen creatures. All right. And then the Mordor Muster. You draw a card, you lose a life, and then you amass Orcs 1. So those are the cards in the deck. Like I said, the deck's a lot more streamlined. I shaved probably 50 off the total mana value of the deck. And stay tuned, we're not done lands yet, but it works remarkably better. Again, if I really, really was going to fine-tune this, and I like to build decks with the more singular theme decks that you could have, I might actually take out some of these. Like, look at the mana value on these cards, right? We have 10 right there, 16 plus 7, that's 23. And then these, just 23 alone, plus those 9 Nazgûl. If I could just put in a bunch of talismans and like lower casting cost orcs, the deck probably would work better. But hey, I like to collect, and here we are. Now let's go over, we'll go over basics first. And I tried to pick as many of these surge foils as possible because I absolutely love the surge foils. So we've got some basics in this deck. I wanted them to be represented. And then we have a bunch of other lands here. Let's go over them. A bunch of really cool lands were done in Lord of the Rings for the Commander set. But Wasteland, the Valley of Gorgoroth, you can add a colorless mana. You can sacrifice it and destroy target non-basic land. That is massive. We have the Seiju, who shelters all, another great card. And there's a lot of value tied up in these lands, like the Wasteland, the Valley of Gorgoroth is an $19 card. This one here, the Isengard, Saruman's Fortress, is $11.40, but it enters the battlefield tap. But if you paid 2 life and you add a mana, if that mana was spent on an instant or sorcery spell, it can't be countered. We have a really nice Surge Foil Barad-dûr. I really try to include really cool, really nice lands in my deck. This is $11. We have the Dead Marshes, a great mana fixer. The Dead Marshes is a great card. This goes for $88, this version of it. Each land is a swamp in addition to its other land types. We have the Bojuka Bog, just a little bit of graveyard hate and another fantastic land, all right? Barrow Downs, $26 for that land. All right, we have the Buckleberry Fairy, all right, a Boro Palace in the Clouds. You add a blue mana, and you can return Buckleberry Fairy to its owner's hand. We have the Mines of Moria. We have the Great Hall of the Citadel. Of course, we have the Black Gate. As the Black Gate enters the battlefield, you may pay 3 life. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tap. Look at this final ability. Choose a player with the most life or tied for the most life. Target creature can't be blocked by creatures that player controls this turn. We have Mount Doom. Mount Doom is an awesome land that I love. You pay 1 life, you can add a red or a black, so it kind of acts as a duel. You pay a bunch of mana. Mount Doom deals 1 damage to each opponent. You pay 7 mana, sacrifice Mount Doom and a legendary artifact. Choose up to 2 target creatures, destroy the rest. Great ability. We have Urborg, the Tower of Cirith Ungol. Add a black mana. Target creature loses first strike or swamp walk till the end of turn. We have the Inn of the Prancing Pony. We have Weathertop, Deserted Temple. We have Minas Morgul, Dark Fortress, and a beautiful Surge Foil version of that. It enters the battlefield tap. You add a black mana, and then you pay 4 mana, put a shadow counter on target creature for as long as that creature has a shadow counter on it. It's a Wraith, some more Wraith features. We have Helm's Deep, which is Shink of the Blood-soaked Keep, all right? Target legendary creature gains first strike till the end of turn. Of course, we have a command tower, the greatest land in Magic the Gathering history, in my opinion. Crumbling Necropolis, Dragon Skull Summit, the Rogue's Passage makes stuff unblockable, Sulphur Falls, these were all included in the pre-con. Sulphur Springs, you're building a multicolored deck, these pain lands have to be included. We have the Underground River. We have the Path of Ancestry, the Frostboil Snarl, the Smoldering Marsh, the Drowned Catacombs, and the Sunken Hollow. There you have it. There is my reworked, upgraded in print Sauron, the Dark Lord deck. I can't call this a new Commander deck, all right, because it was just reworked. But I'll do that from time to time. I'll change up the commander. I'll change up the cards. I will make it improved. And this was a long time coming. So here's the deal. Total mana value is, again, 193. Fast and furious compared to the old version. The value is actually pretty similar. It's $1,172. It actually dropped a little bit, and that's okay. I'm okay with that for playability, okay? It does play as a bracket 3 because we've got 3 game changers. Orcish Bowmasters, the One Ring, the Notion Thief. But in truth, you know, the bracket system, it vexes me sometimes because I like to just make my decks as competitive as possible. But these decks do have a bit of a governor on them. It's throttled a little bit. The reason why is I'm only using cards from the Lord of the Rings series. If I could include things like Coat of Arms, Demonic Tutor, Imperial Seal, Vampiric Tutor. Like, there's a bunch of cards I could throw in here. Maybe a Black Market Connections that would really, really improve this deck. Maybe a couple of counter spells, a mana drain, right, in this deck. Bonkers, you know? So you could make this deck a lot better, but I wanted to stick to the theme of collectability for Lord of the Rings. So thank you for coming to another episode of Muscles of Magic the Gathering. I'll put a link to the original video in the show notes, all right? I'll put the new deck list in the show notes, and make sure, do me a favor, go to the comments, because I'm not done this deck yet. I might want to improve this more. If you know of any other cards that you think I should include in this deck, please, please, please put them in the comments below. I would absolutely love to hear from you.